There's a secret joke amongst surf instructors, and that is that you can't really teach somebody to surf. The surfer has to go out and teach themselves. And what that takes is courage to take your surfboard and to go out into that wild ocean. And it also takes persistence as you fall off, get back on the surfboard, fall off, get back on the surfboard, fall off, get back. You can see where I'm going with this. Surfing is a process of trial and error. Falling off, making micro adjustments next time, little refinements, until eventually maybe you have a couple of seconds of euphoria where everything's going well before you fall off again. So it takes two things. It takes courage to get out there and continue to try, and it takes persistence and faith to know that eventually you're going to get this thing. Eventually you're going to work it out. But it's a trial and error process. And it turns out that this is pretty much the natural learning process for all of us from when we're little children to now. For example, learning to walk, trial and error. You stood up, you tried to walk, you fell over, you had another go. Learning to talk is the same thing. This is the natural learning process for human beings. It's also the problem-solving process, trial and error, keeping on trying new things in a systematic way to get information so eventually you'll be successful. It's the learning process. So what can go wrong with this? Two things. Number one is we can become apprehensive or nervous about making a mistake, and therefore we just don't make moves because we get nervous of the ramifications for that. Fear of failure, fear of mistakes, fear of other people, all of those things. Number two is a lack of clarity about what to do next, leading people to do nothing, just to wait, And we're in a learner agency course, and this is about equipping people to make moves by themselves to know what to do next. Now, give you an example. Cast your mind back to the year 1998, when computers were reasonably new, and what we had was an older generation learning to use computers for the first time. And I actually taught one of these courses, and here was one of my observations. Older people, when they were working with computers, were very hesitant to just click through and experiment and explore. They really thought that they were going to break something. If they clicked on something, they thought they might break something and not be able to undo it, or they thought they might get lost as the screens changed and not be able to find their way back. And that hesitancy to do that really inhibited their learning. They didn't learn as well as they could. And I think we probably all know the best way you learn a new bit of software like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint is to have a couple of goals and then go and experiment with that. Go and play with things and not be afraid of making a mistake. Yes, ask when we need to. Nowadays we do. Now it's a lot more intuitive than it used to be, but it really is a process of self-discovery, a lot of this, trial and error. So what we're going to do in this course is we're going to look at how we can equip learners for those two things. One, to have the courage to overcome that fear. And number two, to know what they're going to do, to know what to do when they don't know what to do. What are the tiny steps they can do to keep going? So they're going to be like a surfer. We're going to equip them with a wetsuit and a surfboard and send them out with the courage and the knowledge that the trial and error process is totally normal and that they will be successful in the end.